One of my goals for this season of Zedcraft is to build my own game show. I trialled this a little bit last season with the very first Roll for Minigame episode, where we came up with 4 mechanics that could work for a game show, and I want to scale that up and build something even grander and even more impressive for the players here on the server. And the way this is going to work is we will have this hall here where the games will be selected and the scores will be displayed. And then we will have a number of different rooms to the side which will hold individual minigames. Now, some of these minigames will be able to be played outside of the game show. Some will be game show specific. But the one that I want to work on today is a version of herd mentality. So you may have heard of this. Herd Mentality is a board game that you can play. It's a very simple board game, basically about choosing what you think the most obvious or the most popular answer to a question will be. And I thought, that's really fun. Let's put a twist on it and call it Shepherd Mentality, because we're all Zedcraft fans, so we can use some sheep imagery in the game instead of cow imagery. But the gameplay will be very simple. First, the players must consult the wise old sheep to find out their question. And here the question is, what's the most useful potion effect? Then each player will write their answer in the book, and the 4 players compare their answers, and remember the goal is to be in the majority. So 4 things that are quite subjective, like most useful potion effect, you're not necessarily picking your favourite, you're just picking the thing that you think everybody else is going to pick. Now let's say I chose healing, pink and red chose fire resistance, and yellow chose regeneration. Pink and red would both get a point, and they can mark their points with the candles on their fence posts here. The goal of the game is to reach 8. Once you have scored 8 points, you have won. But there is one final mechanic, and that involves this guy. So this is the pink sheep. You have to pick up the pink sheep on a turn where you are the odd one out. So for the potion example, let's say I picked healing, all 3 of the other players picked fire resistance. They will all score a point, and I will have to pick up the pink sheep and place that in my plot because I was the odd one out. And what this pink sheep means is that even once I reach 8 points, I cannot win until I no longer have the pink sheep. So I need to hope that somebody else becomes the odd one out. They will then pick up the pink sheep. And if I have 8 points, I will then win. Now, if 2 people reach 8 points in the same round, the goal is then to score 9 points. You know, it's just a tiebreaker. The target moves up 1 each time, which is why we have more than 8 candles in the barrel. And finally, if there's a round where, let's say, 2 people went for healing, 2 people went for fire resistance, nobody gets a point because there isn't a majority. But also, nobody is the odd one out. Now, I am setting this up as a 4-player game, but I will actually have a separate entrance for multiple people to come in and place their own lecterns down, essentially turning it into a game that any number of people can play. But I'm going to see about inviting some friends now, and we'll see the game actually be played. So it turns out that I'm a genius and didn't record any of the Discord audio of this session. We ran like a 25-minute, 30-minute session where we played a full game. And so I'll do a voiceover for a bit of this so you can see how it plays. So this question was, what's the best item that a witch drops? And as you can see, we switched from the lecterns to these lamps. This is because we found it easier to type in chat the answers rather than writing in a lectern and then typing in chat. And here you can see all 7 of us said the same thing for this one. So that's a fun example. And then for the extra people, we just have to find a place for the candle. I did make a better process for that and tidied up the room a little bit later on. So the way the lamps work is that once you have thought of an answer, you push the button and that tells the host that you are writing something in chat. And then we count down 3, 2, 1, and then everybody presses enter. So this is what is the most useful beacon effect. Everybody has an answer very quickly on this one. It's going to be another good question for the majority. And this is a good one to bring up because there will be situations where there's a little bit of not arguing, but conversations around, oh, this person said haste too, this person only said haste. They're technically different things, those kind of technicalities that might come up. I think as the host, you should give a bit of leeway in a game like this. So haste and haste 2 I thought were absolutely fine. If something is clearly intended to be a different thing, then I would count it as a different thing. But the people who typed haste obviously meant haste 2, right? That's the main reason that haste is used. So this one was a bit of a trickier one. What's the best forest biome? And I struggled with this one because there's quite a few biomes, but it's hard to remember them off the top of my head. And you'll notice with the lamps, they lit a little bit slower in this. I did consider setting up a timer, but to be honest, once we introduced the lamps, that worked. We knew when one person was left and hadn't answered, so we could be like, hey, Addy, have you got an answer yet? Especially helps with me having this seat and being able to see everything. And now Addy has submitted his answer. You'll notice he also has the pink sheep on his head. And then we count down, everybody submits their answers, and we got a bit of variety here. So again, we allowed a little bit of leeway. I counted a dark forest and a dark oak forest as the same, but I thought spruce, taiga, and cold taiga were different enough because there are taiga biomes with spruce trees that are not cold, so I counted those as separate. There'll be some conversations around the answers like that, but mostly it's a very self-sufficient game. We were talking about this because, some questions might have like pedantic answers where some people might be like, that's technically not a biome name. But who cares? The goal of the game is to not answer the question correctly. The goal of the game is to answer the same as everybody else. So if everybody answered the same wrong answer, if everybody just typed a beach biome for their favorite forest, they would be in the majority, right? So it's a very self-sufficient game in that sense. So there shouldn't be as much arguing going on. And the last one we will show here, what should be in the first slot of your hotbar? We'll let this one play out as well. I had a very quick answer. And this was one where people were starting to realize, it's not just about what they would do. It's about what they think other people would do. And yeah, one of the downsides of a game where you type in chat is the people who were not taking part were a little bit confused as to what all the comments were about. And that's why we had our names be coloured. We joined the colour teams, which we have in our gaming district. And that way you could see everybody who was playing the game. And then the messages in between we knew were unrelated. And then here we go. We got a bit of variety here. One of the things that I love about games like this is it just gets people talking. We were talking about where we keep our firework rockets. I like to keep mine in slot 9, but I tend to press 1 on the keyboard and then scroll once. Addy said he uses all 9 numbers for controlling which hotbar slot he uses, which to me, I don't know if my hands are just not big enough, but I only use the first 4 or 5 numbers for that. But yeah, I love games like this that create a bit of conversation among friends. That's the goal of this. Even though it's part of a game show, the intention here is just a good bit of silly fun. And I think the original game, the board game Herd Mentality, is brilliant for that as well. Not sponsored. I'm not sponsored and I've never played it. I've just watched videos of people playing it and it looks like a lot of fun. But yeah, so that was a good showcase. Hopefully you got a taste of it. It's a shame that the audio didn't work because it was a good laugh playing this game. So that test playthrough was fantastic. I'm really happy with how that turned out. And thank you to everybody who joined in because that was a lot of fun. I've solidified some of the changes, so we now officially have the lamps, which means we don't need to worry about the lecterns anymore. You just click the lamp when you have an answer and then you type it in chat, and then everybody sends it in all at once. The only other change I tried to make is making the dropper work a little bit better, so it faces down now, and if you're stood underneath the eye, you should get the paper straight away. I've also added these 4 seats for extra players, so we can have up to 8 players in this game. And we now have different items in here, so they can come set up their own fences, their own lamp, and have their own candles. So all very simple, but I'm really pleased with how the game played, and I look forward to playing it again. So thank you very much for watching this video. And if you have any suggestions for other games that might work within a game show, please let me know.